Day 4 of the Karina Cooper trial. It was incredibly boring right up until the end. The last witness was Ryan Cooper's older sister. So that was a bit interesting, but you had to sit through a whole lot of technical jargon first, and it was quite painful. But I'm going to recap the whole thing for you after you watch this intro. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to the channel, Crafting and Crime Daily. Yes, I got my finger stick. Crafting and Crime Daily. I just love this thing. Thank you, Tia. It's just so much fun. Okay, so day 4 of the Karina Cooper case. Before we get into it, though, if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Yes, we're close. We're very close. Okay, so day 4, forensic analyst is on the stand. Didn't catch his name, but he really good expert. He's from Massachusetts. Yeah, Karen Reed up that way. He specializes in accident reconstruction or crime scene reconstruction based on blood splatter analysis, or blood stain analysis, not splatter, blood stain analysis. So after a whole lot of education to the jury and myself, slide after slide, like blood stain analysis 101 for the first 90 minutes before they started talking specifically about this case. Yes. So if you want to watch it, you might want to skip the first 90 minutes unless you really, really want all that detail about how to analyze bloodstains. I do not. So I sat through it though at 4 o'clock this morning because I was wide awake. I'm like, let me watch this thing. I'm cleaning off my dresser, doing laundry. Yeah, it was that interesting. Okay. So here are some of the things he concluded based on. He went through every single photo. He pulled up photos. He would take video, like the body cam video, because he has to he didn't go to the scene, obviously, but he has to reconstruct this scene by photographs. And he took the body cam footage from the officers and broke that down into photographs. So he went through each and every photograph that he took. I'm like, oh, good Lord. Including one photo that I thought was really interesting that we had not seen yet. Let me make sure I screenshotted it for you. Okay, this is a photo of Karina Cooper. It was caught on body cam. We didn't get to see this body cam portion, but this is what this scene looked like when the officer got there. You can see that she is on top of him in the recliner. Now, it's not a graphic photo, so I'm going to put it here. Not graphic, but you can see that she is on top of him, and his head is kind of leaning towards the left. And so he commented on the fact that, her face was in his face, which would have smeared the blood and made some things hard to determine because of that, but it would have also put blood on her. But he was asked about stippling with the 2 entrance wounds. There were 2 entrance wounds on I don't know if it's right or left side. I'm going to be honest with you. We haven't heard from the medical examiner. So I don't know. Did I write this down somewhere else? No, we don't know. Okay. So he said there was stippling, which what that means is when something hits close to the tissue, it spurts out and it hits the surrounding area of whatever. It could be the barrel of the gun, it could be the clothes the person has on that's doing the shooting. And in this case, he said, yes, there was stippling. This barrel was fairly close. He can't say with any accuracy how close, but the barrel was very close to his face when he was shot. And there were no exit wounds. Interesting. So he goes through all these pictures. Some pictures that I took an interest in were this back patio, or you can see this door. This is actually a front door that they do not use. And you'll see like this little stairwell in this picture. You see this little stairwell climbing to that door. That is the living room door. That is behind the lounge chair where he slept. They don't use that door. And you can see in that previous photo, you can see that. I'll put that up again. You can see that door. That's the same door as this one in the stairwell. So they sent that doorknob to be tested for DNA and blood, DNA and fingerprints. And I'm going to fast forward and tell you, no fingerprints. There were no fingerprints on the doorknob. That doesn't mean they weren't there. It's just not sufficient to analyze, which happens like 99% of the time with fingerprint analysis these days. But DNA is a little bit different. The doorknob wasn't tested. She had to make a choice when it came to the doorknob. There was enough how do I put it? She could either let the latent print guy test the doorknob, or she could test the doorknob. They couldn't do both. So she let him do the testing, and he didn't find any prints that he could identify. All right, let's go back to this bloodstain guy. So on that stairwell, there was a footprint. And well, the first photo you can see, there's those placards that the police officers put down. And those are where there's blood stains. And you see number 6, there's some blood stains. And what's significant about these blood stains is they are like droplets. They're not splatter. They're falling off of something. Something, like they're dripping from something. So 6, 7, and then this next one is this kind of a bar that connects that stair railing to the home. Someone stepped on that, like it's part of the stair, and they stepped on that. There's this footwear impression that was left there. Going out of the house, nothing coming in. So going out. So after the shooting. So what else did he find? Okay, so he after he goes through all these pictures, he tells us that there's no other explanation. There's no other conclusion that he can draw other than Ryan Cooper was laying in the lounge chair, leaning. He might have been leaning after the shot. I don't know. But anyway, when he was found, he was leaning to the left, and the blood was dripping down. But the footrest was fully extended. So the lounge chair was in a lying position, and that's how he was shot. He wasn't kneeling. He wasn't standing. He wasn't repositioned. Like that's where somebody came in and shot him. Maybe came in that back door. So then that blood's starting to pool. And the other thing was the door was closed when the shooting happened because there is blood on that door that would have come from the gunshots. There's a bloody footprint. Someone was barefooted and stepped in the blood inside near that door, but it doesn't exit the door. Now, this could be Cade's blood, the oldest child who said he stepped in the blood. We don't know. He couldn't determine size based on the footprint that he was seeing, whether it was a child or an adult, or he couldn't determine any of that. But he was very surprised that there were no other bloody footprints outside of that door. He really expected that there would be. He didn't find any. Then there was a lot of back and forth between the lawyers and the expert about the amount of time it would have taken for that blood to pool before someone could step in it, and because that's he said, and basically he said it could happen very fast. There's a lot of factors: humidity. Is there a fan going? What's how porous is the surface that the blood is dripping on? Like there's all these factors that will determine how quickly that's going to start to clot. Was there an artery involved? There's all these questions that he needs to have answered. But so she's saying she heard this loud noise. She woke up. She goes downstairs. She looks out the kitchen window. She's, does a few things, and then she finds him in the living room. Is that enough time? That's what they're trying to say. Is that enough time for this blood to have pooled and her to have stepped in it, or someone else to have stepped in it? I don't know. So it doesn't tell us. Bottom line is we don't know when this guy died. We don't know how long he was laying there before she decided to call 911. In any case, the fingerprint analysis guy was his next person. Zilch, zitch, nada, nothing, no fingerprints. Then the DNA person. And she listed a whole number of things that were submitted, but at least the first 7 weren't tested, including what they thought might be blood on the sewing room floor, blood on the living room floor. None of this was tested. Blood on his t-shirt, blood on his fingernails, and I don't know why. It just wasn't. She said, we can only test a certain amount of things, so we have to determine what we're going to test. And the rest is saved for later if it needs to be tested later on. So it was not tested, but they did find that the blood that was under placard number 6, that's that first step after you're leaving the door, that was Ryan Cooper's blood. And she had a lot of known samples. She had Cade, Cable, and Cortland. So those are the 3 kids. I don't know where we got 4 from, except that he was married previously. So there might be another child out there. I don't know. So Cade, Cable, and Cortland are the 3 kids. Karina, she had all those known samples. She had Brian's known sample. I don't know. Houston Dankler's name didn't come up. So I don't know if she had a known sample for Houston Dankler. Next person, this one was by far the most exciting of the day, and it really wasn't that exciting. It's just the most exciting of the day. This was Michelle Wilson, Ryan Cooper's older sister. She is an accountant for Cooper Farms, so she had a lot of interesting financial things to say. She doesn't know a lot about their individual finances, but she talked about Cooper Farms. They deal in corn and beef, livestock, own a lot of land, and own a lot of farm equipment. But then her father, separately, apart from the farms, owns like 4 or 5 houses, all the ones that they lived in. He owns those. So she now that Ryan has passed away, she and her brother Aaron are the co-executors of his estate. So she's got some insight into the assets that were left by Ryan Cooper, and that amounted to about $200,000. So here's how these assets were split up. He had some farm equipment that was not owned by Cooper Farms. It was actually owned by Ryan, owned them himself with another person, not associated with Cooper Farms. So Cooper Farms ended up selling that to the other person, and got about $100K for that. I didn't hear her say what they did with $100K, but then there was a truck, because he did some trucking on his own, that was worth $70,000. And well, I don't know what it was worth, but Cooper Farms actually purchased the truck for $70,000 and then wrote Karina a check for $70,000. Now, in cross-examination, Karina is saying wasn't there a $70,000 loan on that truck? And Michelle said, no, there was a $50,000 loan, not a $70,000 loan, which would have been her responsibility, Karina's, to pay off. Then she said, what else was there? There was, phones. No. Okay, we're going to get to the phones. Karina was told to move into a different house. There was something else that was sold. His personal vehicle, his Ford 450, I think. And she was given the proceeds of that, and she did take that money and buy herself a regular vehicle. So as living there, they didn't have to pay cell phone. Their cell phones were paid for by Cooper Farms. They didn't have to pay any utilities. Those were paid for by Cooper Farms. No property taxes, no property insurance, none of the expenses of owning a home. That all went to Cooper Farms. But when Ryan passed away, she moved into a different home owned by Cooper Farms. So about 3 months after Ryan's death, Michelle is working in the corporate office, which is Dad's house. She's at Dad's house working, and under a piece of equipment, she sees a piece of paper, single sheet of paper. She takes it out, and there's a Post-it on there, and there's different things checked on this piece of paper, and it's a cell phone log from Karina's cell phone. And on that log is Houston Dankler's phone number. So clearly, Ryan Cooper knew that his wife was having an affair with Houston Dankler, or he really suspected that she was. And that was turned over to the police. So they do now have that. It's just a single sheet of paper. It's her phone log, and she is obviously communicating with Houston Dankler. Okay, so that is the testimony of day 4 in a nutshell. And I did it in 17 minutes. It took me hours to watch that bloodstain guy. Hours of my life I'll never get back. But I know so much more about bloodstain analysis. I really do. If you really are interested in bloodstain analysis, this expert was very good, very thorough. He knew how to engage the jury to keep them interested in the material. He made it make sense. He actually videoed a drop of blood, and you could see the directionality of the blood during different scenarios. It was quite interesting. So that's it for today. I will see you in tomorrow's video, where I think we're going to hear about cell phone location data tomorrow. So tune in for that. I will see you guys then. Have a great day, and let me know what you think in the comments. See you later.